Yeah, we're going.
Well, this was my idea, so I figure I'll start things off here.
Perfect.
Basically, I just self-indulgently wanted to talk about music, and I found in my life very little in the way of opportunity to talk about music with other people because it's such a personal thing. And it's really hard to relate to people in a meaningful way about some of that stuff. Like, I believe it's probably situational. You might be able to get away with it in a bar for a certain amount of time. I wanted more in-depth discussions, and I figured, a podcast. This is purely
Yeah.
self-indulgent for me.
I think it is for me too, because I love a lot of different types of music. You see, I look at your issue and I'm thinking, Dave, obviously you're not a divorced father that is just listening to dad rock all the time. That's the problem. Otherwise, you would be perfectly fine with everything on the radio.
I mean, dad rock was just modern music when I was growing up. Yeah,
Yeah.
when we were growing up.
When we were growing up. Oh my God. Which, by the way, I'm Aaron Spadero. Across from me is Dave Halstead.
I'm Dave.
And this is our podcast about music. So give me the premise, not the thought behind it, but just the actual premise. How are we framing this?
Okay, so I wanted to have us pick 3 songs each, not tell each other what they were, and then say these are 3 of our favorite songs and why. And when I say favorite songs, these are not like, to me, it's like I don't have a favorite song. I have 3,000 favorite songs.
Per genre. Yeah, it is like that.
So this could go for a while. I could talk about this all the time. And, for me, I'm not someone who makes music. You play instruments.
Yeah.
And for me, it's a lot about lyrics, but not always. One of the 3 songs I brought with me today is completely instrumental.
Cool.
But I wouldn't say there isn't an element of story to that song. You just have to know what the story is.
All right. Why don't you lead us off? You tell me what the first song is. Give me whatever spiel you want about the song, and then we'll play it.
Okay, so I feel like there should be a drum roll.
Drum roll, please.
My first song is One of My Turns by Pink Floyd.
Let's hit it.
Dry as a funeral drum. Run to the bedroom in the suitcase on the left. You'll find my favorites. Don't look so frightened. This is just a passing phase. One of my bad days.
It's been well over a decade at this point since I've seen Pink Floyd The Wall.
The movie.
Yeah, the movie.
Yeah.
I think
Which they don't like, by the way.
that Pink Floyd doesn't like the movie.
The rest of it, I think only Roger Waters likes it.
There is some special things going on in that movie.
Yeah, I love the movie, by the way. And that's a big part of how I was introduced to this song and this band. Well, just to get into it, like, there is a generation gap between myself and my older siblings. So when I was growing up, they were getting married and having children. So that's the gap. I was spending time with my sister's family. I'm maybe a teenager at this point, 12, 13, early teens. I don't know what the conversation leading up to this was because I don't remember that. I just remember my brother-in-law going into the line, "Walk to the bedroom in the suitcase on the left, you'll find my favorite axe. Don't look so frightened, this is just a passing phase, one of my bad days." And I heard that and I was just like a kid going, "What is that?"
I can see Eric doing that. I can
You-
see,
yeah, you know who I'm
yeah,
talking
I know
about.
who you're talking about. There's something very, very cathartic about that whole album and specifically that song. He is basically describing a rock star getting home from the party, the gig, the
going
show,
back and
whatever.
wrecking the hotel room. That
And-
classic scenario.
And he is, at the beginning of the song, he just sounds so dead. And there's just, the groupie's voice in the background, noting different things.
Completely oblivious
Yes.
to this wrecked of what a shell of a human this character is at this point. Because that is another thing that has to be discussed. This is part of a concept album. There is an ongoing story that's happening here.
Yeah.
And this isn't the beginning of it. This is somewhere in the middle.
It's not just a rock stars are people 2 moment. It's a slow descent into madness, and this is just a crack forming, a really, really big crack forming.
Yeah, this is getting into, I want to say this is getting into the third act of his descent into madness, of his
Yeah.
breakdown.
Yeah.
This is really getting into the third act of that.
And you can see it in your head as you hear that song over and over again.
The amazing thing to me is that this song was created without a movie to go with it.
I believe that.
Yeah, because it's so cinematic. And, that was one of the things that really captured my attention as a kid, because my first passion was always movies.
Okay.
And a lot of other things that I've gotten into in life, I got into because of movies.
For me, I think my first passion really was kind of music, the audio format specifically, because I used to love listening to radio shows as well. So being able to see that kind of story unfold in my head is just something very natural for me.
Yeah, and
there
I
is
definitely have a
story
visual
here.
imagination, and that'll happen a lot where I'm listening to a song and I can close my eyes or not even close my eyes. I can just picture scenes like daydreaming.
Yeah, no, you can just vividly see it. Music just has that effect on your brain. It just goes to whatever core of your nervous system connects everything together. And it's not, it is synesthesia, but it's not just that. It is something far more vivid, far more hallucinatory. And when you have an older song, which, you and I we're both very familiar with this specific material, it just autopilot straight there. Snap. It's just there.
Yeah, and I actually saw the movie before I even listened to the album. Because this song is how I discovered Pink Floyd. It was hearing my brother-in-law say that line going, "What the hell is that? What did you just sing?" And not knowing, because I was also at this point into my early teens, I was not a music fan. I was just a casual listener. That wasn't something I was interested in or that I thought would interest me at that point in my life. My parents didn't have musical interests, really. I never went to a concert growing up. It was just, to my early teens, just not a part of my life at all. Music was, you listen to the radio and there are songs you sing at church. That was it. And what Pink Floyd offered to me was an insight into music can be about other things. It can express other ideas and other emotions.
Everybody has a moment, and it's usually with an older family. For me, it was with my older brother bringing home mix albums. Ozzy Osbourne, Limp Bizkit. I know, just it is what it is. It was that
It was
era.
the time.
It was the time.
You
but
had
there
to be
was-
there in that age to understand,
But
I
there
guess.
was also
but
other stuff like Tom Waits mixed in with that. And, this music sticks with you your entire life. You are exposed to it, and it sticks with you your entire life for better or for worse.
And I should say, I'm primarily a rock music fan. Yeah, I mean, I branch out a lot, but if I said, but if there was one genre of music that is the core of what I listen to, it's rock.
Oh, I am totally going to make you listen to country, folk, rap, classic, modern. I'm going to abuse you.
I've been exposed to all this, of course, and I appreciate a great deal. And but there are some things I don't get into. Yeah, it's not. I'm not saying it's a limiting factor. I'm just saying what is at the center of my musical tastes.
Yeah,
That's rock for me.
I understand.
Rock, rhythm, and blues. So I want to unpack the song a little bit more.
Okay.
It starts out, we were talking about the cinematic style. It starts out with sound effects, which, again, is not typical in music.
If you hadn't have told me 5 minutes ago that they made this album without the movie, then I would have.
Because that sounds like a clip from a movie.
It sounds like they clipped the movie, but now
It's the other way around.
it's the other way around. They just stuck the clip from the song right into the movie.
Yeah, they just create it. And to me, it's my favorite scene of the movie. That leading into Comfortably Numb.
Oh, yeah.
Why didn't I pick Comfortably Numb? Well, several reasons. It is the better song. Hands down, there's no argument there. It's the better song. But this was the one I was exposed to first. It introduced me to all this. And I would say it's my favorite over Comfortably Numb, which I've probably heard too many times at this point. You know that thing where it's like, man, I've heard this song so many times.
Yeah, okay. Comfortably Numb is a mood. But do you remember The Show Must Go On? Do you remember the whole...
Yes, of course. Dude, this album is at the very beginning of me listening to music actively, active listening, and not casual listening. This is the beginning of me becoming a music fan.
You remember that scene where he's basically transformed into a Nazi and he's shoved up
Yeah.
on stage and he is surrounded by skinheads. The thing about that scene is instead of just hiring actors to be the skinheads, they got a local skinhead group. They got literal skinheads, and it did not work out well for them.
This is probably one of the reasons they don't like the film.
It was not good at all.
Funny, I can't imagine a scenario where we got this group of, neo-Nazi skinheads, and everything worked out just fine. Great group of chaps. No, that never happens.
Well, usually if you get a bunch of shaved head people that belong to a group, you're George Lucas and you hired a cult for one of your less well-known films. Which only happened once, maybe twice. But still, this was just a bad choice. And they went with it anyways.
Bad choices were made. But back to this song.
Song.
You get these opening lyrics. Day after day, love turns gray, like the skin of a dying man. Man, that's vivid imagery. And the way he's delivering it, too. That's Roger Waters, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We did no research.
we don't do research.
There's no prep for this show.
We just bullshit our way right from the top of our heads. That's fine.
But
That's
like
acceptable.
the way he do, like the skin on a dying man.
Oh dear, Dave. I'm going to just sound clip that, and that's just going to be right at the beginning of every single one of these episodes that we make.
Yeah, and night after night we pretend it's all right, but I've grown older, you have grown colder, and nothing is very much fun anymore. This is very great, not only vivid imagery, but economical storytelling.
Yeah.
This is a guy who's going through a divorce.
Yeah.
That is clearly what this is. Along with this also being a rock star who's going to self-destruct and just destroy a hotel room and attack a woman, a random groupie, who we never get a name of.
A lot of people, there's like a rock and roll dream. This is the rock and roll nightmare where it's just, he could have everything he quote-unquote wants, except he doesn't want any of that. He wants his marriage to not fall apart. He wants to...
one of the reasons the rock and roll dream becomes the rock and roll nightmare is people get into the things thinking they can take the good without having to deal with the bad. and they don't deal with the bad until they have to deal with the bad.
Well,
And
yeah.
it either destroys them or they get their shit together and work through it.
There's also a component, though, to it where it's like, if you're a rock star, there's an excuse for all of your bad behavior. And you do still have to deal with your bad behavior.
Kind of coddled.
You have to
the
deal with
media
your
is
bad
like,
behavior whether you like it or not.
we expect it. So it's like when you have wealth, fame, any sort of social currency, let's say, in actual currency applies there as well.
Yeah.
People let you get away with shit. There's like, they don't call you on your shit.
Oh, of course
And
not.
you get indulged, and it just leads to more indulgent behavior.
The way I have heard it phrased in the past is you're co-signing someone else's bullshit when you're not speaking up against it. And a lot of people are just perfectly fine with it. It's all right. He's an artist. He's a musician. He's allowed to be mercurial. There's a $10 word for you, mercurial.
Yes, he was a horrible person, but he was a brilliant artist.
He could make the best music. He was complicated? No, don't use the C word. I'm not going. It's a lot. And there needs to be depth to music like this, obviously, and there needs to be depth to our musicians to get anything great out of them. But also, you can see a train wreck and call it what it is. You're allowed to do that.
Very few people do, especially around charismatic personalities, which most rock stars are.
And they are definitely self-aware. They are self-aware of what they are doing in this album.
They know the trope that they're playing with here, with the rock star that self-destructs, and they have a very personal connection to it because their original singer, Syd Barrett, self-destructed.
He self-destructed. He went to he went to the loony bin.
Acid burnout.
Yeah.
Yeah, Syd Barrett is an entire...
That's an entire story
Yeah.
there. We can approach that at some other point.
That is like something that's pulsating behind the door that we don't want to open right now.
Nope. We don't have the time to get into Syd Barrett and whether or not they were talking about him specifically in this album, which I don't believe they were, mind you.
Oh, I believe they were.
They created
I believe
something
Syd Barrett
adjacent.
is all throughout this.
It's throughout this, but they created something bigger than Syd, I think.
Yes, it's like this album took so long. I think a lot of ideas and a lot of personal feelings from all the members of the band worked into it, and that no one of them can claim to be the true artist of this.
It's like when you ask which one's Pink, you can say Syd Barrett was Pink Floyd, or you could say Roger Waters was Pink Floyd. You could say any of them. They all kind of went through that experience.
Like, this album took like years where they were working on this. I can't imagine working on one project like this creatively for years.
Well,
like, this went through so many things, and so many ideas got mixed into this, and it ends up being about so much. And then, of course, artistic interpretation from the audience is like, how do you relate to it? Now, I mean, obviously, these lyrics here we were talking about, it's about a guy going through divorce, a pretty ugly, like, slow decay of the relationship where they just sort of tolerate each other for a while, but then it gets to the point where they can't tolerate each other. I'm a 13-year-old kid listening to this for the first time. What am I connecting with here?
Honestly, you're just, like I said, you're probably just connecting with the straight up catharsis of the whole damn song. You're connecting with the fact that you feel burnt out, not listened to, not able to fucking deal with shit, and you just want to break things after a while. You're not able to process it. The ability to just lash out when you know that you can't or shouldn't, it's like pure gold.
I think I was a bit of a moody child. I think that there's a incorrect assumption about kids being happy. That it's like, oh, kids, they're just supposed to be happy all the time. Nothing serious is supposed to affect them.
I don't think there's that assumption about teenagers. Let's be
Well,
fair.
I'm not talking about even teenage. I'm talking about when I was like a child.
Oh, yeah.
And like I was always moody. A lot of people my parents included, did not understand that and didn't appreciate it. Who wants a moody little kid around?
Yeah, no, there's a whole learning curve to dealing with emotions. Some people are better at it than others, or
And
just think they are.
I definitely was not an extrovert, and I was the kid that didn't have friends growing up. Yeah, I didn't get friends for a long time.
That's fine. Friends are overrated. You got me!
So I think there is, like, this was kind of darker in a very introverted, intellectual way that I hadn't heard in music up until that point in my life. Or even if I'd heard it,
man.
probably hadn't recognized it until this.
Yeah.
And I think there's that part that I'm connected to. And the rest of it is just, like I said, the cinematic quality of it.
Well, yeah. You always
Like
loved
I
a
could
good
see
movie.
the movie and this, the story playing out. By the way, I love this thing in music, and I've heard it many times. Before the music changes from the earlier part where it's all slow and moody and synthy to where when the band comes in, dun dun dun,
Yeah.
there's that yeah kind of sound that before that kicks off. That sort of like something played in reverse.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
It sounds uncanny enough that your brain is forced to pay attention to it. I swear, that's what it is. It's your brain recognizes it, but it also recognizes it as wrong.
It's like something screaming out from space, Yeah. The portal has just opened. Something's coming through.
Where we're going, we don't need eyes. We don't need portals. We don't need a plot line. We have Sam Neill. Anyways.
Oh man, that line, this is just a passing phase, one of my bad days. That's a line that lives in my head rent-free. I have quoted that way too many times in my life. Because you'll just think, I'm having a bad day today. For me, whenever I think that, it's like, this is the line that comes, it's just a passing phase, one of my bad days.
It is a gross underplaying of something that is just eating you from the inside.
Especially, that thing where it's like you're going through stuff and you don't know how to explain it to people or relate to people, which I felt a lot growing up. This album really spoke to me a lot growing up.
This is one of the things about music, right? Where music is such an invaluable tool of expression. If you don't know how to express yourself, but you find the perfect song.
Yeah, music is often a way to express things that there's no other way to express it other than just like, pew, pew, pew.
Yeah,
It's like, yes, that's how I'm feeling right
that's
now.
how I'm
Pew,
feeling.
pew, pew.
The lead singer is happy. The lead singer is sad. The lead singer is dealing with this complicated ennui. I don't even know what the word ennui means. I just
Or if you're
know
pronouncing it correctly.
in a judge's reference to pornography, I don't know what it is, but I know it when I see it. I know exactly what that emotion is when I hear it.
Also, the axe he's talking about, that's not a guitar. He's talking about an axe.
I hope so.
And just
Can
that
you just
idea that he's got an axe in his suitcase.
I love the idea of just you're opening up a guitar case and there is a double-headed headsman's axe like you would see Conan swinging around. It's perfect.
Well, listen, it's not a Man of War show.
How do you know?
Oh, Man of
Now
War.
I want to listen to Man of War. Thanks, Dave. You did this to me.
Yeah, I apologize for that. That's when you're in a Man-O-War mood, that's not a good place.
It is not a bad
It's better to be in
place.
a Pink Floyd mood.
You kind of want to dress like that guy, like a Frank Frazetta painting,
Ha!
and ride around on a horse with a like a horned helmet on it, and just swing an axe at people. It's not necessarily great, or it's perfect. It depends. Okay.
Anyways,
What do you got left?
What's your song?
Well, all right. Let's non sequitur right into this. I too picked a song from the 70s, or maybe late 60s. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Research. Our researchers are on that.
Our research is on it. No. It was early 70s. The song I want to play for you is also in the prog rock genre.
Really, we both because we didn't tell each other about our picks.
But you chose proper prog rock. I chose prog rock mixed with folk acoustic. They are both technically in the prog rock genre. I'm choosing Al Stewart, who was in that area, in that time frame. I'm choosing a song from his Past, Present, and Future album called Roads to Moscow.
Okay, I have not heard this.
Okay, you're gonna love
I don't even know
this.
what this song is.
You're gonna get a kick out of this, especially, well, we'll get into it.
They crossed over the border the hour before dawn, moving in lines through the day. Most of our planes were astride on the ground where they lay, waiting for orders we held in the word from...
All right, how's your history?
So yeah, I'm definitely getting the vibes of like this is an old war ballad. Like this is what the bard plays at the taverns. There, the old soldiers stop their reverie for a minute and they just sit quietly, and a tear drips down their cheek into their beer. That's what I'm picturing. It's like I just kept picturing like an old tan parchment map of Europe that was hand drawn in Indian ink. That's the vibe it has. But do I know exactly what it's about? No.
Would you like to know?
Yeah, I imagine you're going to tell me.
It's World War II Eastern Front.
That's what I thought. Now, I do know a lot of war history, but honestly, it's a huge subject.
Let me...
And what I know about mainly is stuff that happened in Germany, England, and France, and Italy. And I probably know the least about the Eastern Front.
Let me hit you with some broad spark notes, both about this song, about Eastern Front,
Oh,
and
in Japan as well. I know a lot about what happened in the Pacific.
and I'll also tell you a little bit about Al Stewart in this album.
Okay.
Let's first start with Al Stewart.
Well, he wrote the song.
Imagine for
Or
half a
did
second.
he write the song?
He did.
Okay.
He wrote.
I was wondering if that was one of the things I was wondering about
This-
was like, was
this
this
is
a
his-
re-recording of a folk song from Europe?
No.
No,
No.
he wrote this song. Okay.
He grew up in the 60s around all of those 60s musicians. You know, he knew Eric Clapton, he knew Hendrix, he knew this person, that person, he knew Simon and Garfunkel. I think he slept on Simon and Garfunkel's couch at one point. He was,
With which one?
I don't fucking know. He was of that era. So you have this guy who grows up in rural England,
Now, he is an Englishman?
Scotsman.
He's a Scotsman. Okay, that does help.
He's growing up. The only other person that knows how to play guitar in the small town he grew up in, he begged to give him lessons. So Robert Fripp who was around the same age, gave him lessons, and he followed none of those
Oh,
lessons because
Robert
Robert
Fripp.
Fripp really can play guitar.
You know, I've heard several stories from famous Scotsmen who are like, yeah, there was one person in the town who knew anything about what I wanted to do. That's just like
Yep.
so many stories from famous Scotsmen start that way.
So this is his 5th album release, and he's had probably a couple of minor releases before this. He's known in the scene, in mostly the folk music scene. This album, Past, Present, and Future, tends to break away into prog rock a lot more, especially with songs like Nostradamus, which I'm not going to get into. It's still 3 years yet before he has his biggest breakaway year of the Cat. Past, Present, and Future was him basically deciding, okay, I'm a big history nerd. I'm going to write a bunch of songs with history influences in it.
Geez, the 60s isn't that far away from
No.
World War II.
No, he knew people that fought. They were the generation
Of
after
course.
or before him. Let's talk about the song itself. It is a song of a Russian soldier going through his time on the Eastern Front from the Germans invading and literally pushing them back. And Russian strategy, as far as I can tell, has never changed
No, it hasn't.
over the last 400 or 500 years. It has not changed. Throw bodies at a problem during the spring, summer, and fall. Keep throwing bodies at them. Don't worry. This is a slowing tactic. Is whatever invading force thinks that it's going to get to Moscow pushes forward to Moscow, and by the time that they are stuck in the middle of a Ukrainian field at the beginning of winter, they're fucked because they have to then deal with the greatest general of all time in Russian history, General Winter. General Winter defeated Napoleon. It defeated Adolf Hitler, which is what this song is about. People get stuck in Russia in winter and don't know how to react to a force that doesn't have any
They're
care
not equipped
about.
for it.
They're not equipped for it.
That's what would usually happen from what little I know.
They're not equipped for it. And what's worse, I swear to God, Russia has no reverence for its own people and its own life. They literally can just throw bodies into a wood chipper until the wood chipper stalls. That is the
Yeah.
Russian plan.
It's like when you play an RTS game and you're like, I'll just send this mass at the guy while I prepare these forces to really win the game.
That is it right there, except there aren't any forces to really win the game. Either sending the mass out,
Yeah,
then
real
you're
life.
letting
Not a game.
and then the mass gets stuck in the Russian winter, which destroys everything, and then you clean house afterwards. The fighting on the Eastern Front was some of the worst of the entire war for this reason.
Have heard that.
There are nightmare stories about the Battle of Stalingrad that include everything upwards of cannibalism. And at the end of the song, they're pushing right back through. They're pushing through the decimated remains of Hitler's army on the way back to Berlin. They get there, and and the guy is talking to some higher.
They get there and they don't want to go back.
No, they do. They do want to go back. He's actually talking to his officers about this time that
Well, I meant Russia.
Oh, God.
Russia didn't want to go back. They're like, I think we'll just build a nice wall over here.
Yeah. Leading to the Pink Floyd, the wall thing.
Yep.
Oh, wait, never mind. The end of the song, he's talking to his higher-ups about the fact that he got stuck behind enemy lines and was a prisoner for a day. And the thing is, Stalin was a paranoid son of a bitch.
You don't say.
Everybody that was made a prisoner, Stalin assumed was flipped into a double agent, so they all got shipped off to work camps in Siberia. Every single one.
Siberia.
even if you were expected of that in any way, shape, or form, off to the work camp. The 1950s was pretty much Stalin shipping one group of people after another off to Siberia to die in a work camp.
Have you ever seen the movie Muppets Most Wanted?
Yes.
The wall!
And you just have
And
Tina Fey
just
licking
licks Kermit the Frog
and
and throws him
stood
up
on
against the wall.
Yes. Oh, perfect. I wanted to play this song for you for a while because this is what a lot of music for me is really about. It's that storytelling. It is a different kind of storytelling. This is a ballad.
Yeah, I mean, there's a rich history going back centuries of these kinds of folk ballads.
Yes, and I am obsessed with them, I swear. From the musical influence they obviously took from Russian music and other stuff like that.
Yeah, there's one point in the song where a chorus kicks in, or it's like
Yes.
very guitar heavy at first, and then a chorus, the
And-
choir shows up.
Yes, and you're like, is this like the background music to Dr. Zhivago? What's going on here? This is epic. This is so epic. What is happening? It's just got this
It
wonderful
doesn't have sound
build.
effects of gunshots in it, but I swear I could hear them.
It's got a wonderful build to it.
You know, you say you listen to a lot of this kind of music, and you have a lot of interest in this kind of music. Why does this song stick out to you?
This song sticks out to me for several reasons. The first time I heard it, I thought, shit, is this Sabaton? Is this a Sabaton song? It's not. I think Sabaton should cover it.
Could be fun.
There's not many bands that really go in for the historical influence like this. The whole album is good, by the way. Lots of historical influence all the way through it.
Would you say Days of Future Past? No, wait, that's
No, past, present, and futures album.
I know.
Lovely, yes. As it turns out, Al Stewart is an X-Men. No,
Moody Blues.
this song, there's just something that hits my brain right for it to just get stuck in there, and it is so memorable. I cannot pick out another song that has been made like this until you get to the modern era with bands like Sabaton, which also tell old war stories from World War II.
There'll be those like power metal bands that do folk songs about fantasy.
Yeah, absolutely. Where it's covering this epic story over a long timeline, and it's basically going through a lot of material very quickly, and you feel like you are in a tavern drinking a beer as somebody is relaying to you this involved long story. You feel like you're listening to Dan Carlin sing, which is absurd, but I mean, hey, big hardcore history fan over here. I gotta do what I gotta do. It just hits right. That's what it comes down to. The song hits right.
It's a exemplary example of its type.
Yes. And its type is so goddamn rare.
And about how that was happening in the 60s, where they were delving into the history and folk music.
And I mean, with the prog rock movement, storytelling was so essential to this. You could hear it in this song, you could hear it in the previous song, and you had these 7-8 minute long epics that they would just throw on albums, and people would have to
When the DJ would put on when he needed to take a number
when he
two.
needed to take a piss, yes. And it's very listenable. It's highly listenable because you catch something new every time you listen to it.
One listen, I couldn't catch all of it.
No, of course not. And that's kind of beautiful. You get it from Pink Floyd, you get it from Al Stewart, you get it from King Crimson, you get it from any number of other bands.
Now, I think what makes this prog rock rather than just a folk song is the orchestral side of it.
Yeah, I would say that too.
Or the mix of rock and opera.
He is mostly folk. you get more of a pop prog rock influence out of other songs that he does on this album, like Nostradamus. Nostradamus is one hell of a folk song. You swear there's a freaking theremin playing in Nostradamus. So
It
it's
probably is.
yes, it's either a theremin or a very, very talented singer, female singer. I'm just gonna say that. It's just amazing how it will affect your mind and what kind of mood it puts you in.
Yeah, if you want to add scope to your epic music, make it about war history. History will always add scope.
Yes.
All right. So you ready for my second song? I decided since my first pick was sort of a dark one, I needed to go with something a bit lighter. Something that always picks me up when I listen to it is the theme to Peter Gunn by Henry Mancini. So, when I said the title, did you know what it was?
No,
How quickly did you figure it out?
almost instantly.
Right? It's one of those songs where it's like most people don't know the name of the song or who made it, but the second you hear it, most people who like rock, rhythm, and blues songs or jazz will instantly recognize this.
Yeah, it's that song that just puts you in the mindset to be like a super spy or or like a hard-bitten detective in San Francisco. It's got a vibe to it.
Definitely. And I mean, that was the point. This was made for a television show in the 60s about a private eye named
Okay.
Peter Gunn.
And it's just one of those things that has survived until the modern era.
Well, because the song was better than the show. And it wasn't a bad show. I'm just saying that the song is just that amazing.
I don't know.
And it's been covered a lot.
I believe
Most
it.
people would probably never heard of the show, but this was used extensively. I think it played at least 3 times in the Blues Brothers movie. And the Blues
believe
Brothers
that.
cover of it is amazing. I think it's even better than the
Yeah.
original.
I think that's probably where most people get introduced to this song, but
It's the Blues Brothers.
it always just puts me in mind of, I know you are familiar with, what's his name, Raymond Chandler?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Raymond Chandler's detective
yeah.
novels
Philip Marlowe.
with, Marlowe. That's it. I've read a few of those.
Yeah. I think we both
Seen a lot of
have.
adaptations of them. That's another aspect to it that I think feeds into this song is that Peter Gunn, the TV show character, was not one of the hard-boiled, gritty old man detectives. He was young and slick and hot, objectively as a straight man.
It's all right,
was hot.
Dave. Your secret is safe with me.
You know, but he's like, he was hip, he was sexy, he was cool.
Yeah.
And his office was in a jazz club.
No kidding. That is perfect. That is vibe. At that point, it's like you take your case, you get your scotch from the bar, you go into your office, you leave the office, you listen to some jazz music, you get your second or third scotch of the morning, and you just work for the rest of the day.
I've seen a couple episodes of the show. It is dated. It's dated. It doesn't hold up well. But, like, you can see what it
No.
was.
No,
In its time.
I'm sure it's fine.
There was one aspect of the show where it was, like, the sort of, like, girlfriend kept at arm's length, where it was just, like, they never hooked up or had a relationship, but it was always, like, maybe they will, but he's wrapped up in his work right now, you know.
There needs to be a complicated German word for a genre fiction show that you put on in the background so you don't feel alone at home.
Oh, yeah, that background show.
Yeah.
You know what's amazing?
What?
There were shows that just had no plots at all.
Yeah, they're called soap operas.
No, there was like this, You know, because I'll walk into my mom's house and she'll have the TV on playing some like oldies shows. And there was this one cop show. I think it was called Adam 12 or something.
Okay.
And there was no frickin' plot to that show. It's just two cops going from case to case. Not like one case isn't even a show. They'll just like, they're these little vignettes of like cop drama.
Okay.
Like that was a show. It was like pre-Law and Order.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Basically, let's center a bunch of disparate, I can speak English,
Blah, blah.
disparate stories around a career of some sort or a job of some sort.
Right. Doctor shows were like that too. It was like, just see a patient, blah, blah, blah. And then on to the next thing. It was like, it's not leading anywhere. That's
Nope.
it.
Nope.
That scene's just it. That's
Yep.
what you get. But back to the song. Oh, it just hits so hard.
Yeah.
And it's just that constant steady dun 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 dun.
When did
And you
that
know what
come
else?
out?
This is 60s.
Is that precursor or influenced by surfer rock? Because
I don't know.
I feel like there's a little bit of that in there. I see links between that and Link Ray, you know.
Link
Believe it or
Ray's
not.
Rumble?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another. You know what? It was a toss-up for me to pick between those two.
It's like I'm a hard-bitten San Francisco detective, but I'm going to go surfing.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
You know what else Henry Mancini did the theme suit?
What?
Pink Panther.
Okay, yep. Yeah. Okay.
People know a lot of these songs.
I believe it.
I can't imagine that there's a blues band that's been playing for any length of time that if you said to them, hey, play Peter Gunn, that they couldn't immediately start just playing that riff.
I believe it.
And the saxophone, that it's just that is the sound of sex and violence.
Yes. It pokes your brain right.
Yeah, it hits some primal part of the brain, man.
Yep.
Saxophones. You know, I was looking at my playlist of favorite songs recently and was just like, man, there's saxophone in a lot of these.
There's saxophone in this. There's saxophone in that. There's saxophone in The Lost Boys.
The greatest saxophone player of all time. Yes.
Yes, a shirtless saxophone player from the Lost Boys movie. That's it.
I
right
bet you
there.
he could play this.
I bet you he could.
You can hire him for parties.
Out on the
He has a
beach.
website.
No kidding.
I'm
Oh.
not lying.
Oh,
I'm not making that up.
I need to look this up right now. We need to get this guy from the West Coast right now.
Isn't it Coney Island? That's where the Lost Boys was set.
What? It wasn't set in Coney Island, was it?
Or am I thinking of Warriors?
You're thinking of
I'm
Warriors.
thinking of Warriors.
Lost Boys was total West Coast vibe.
I thought, okay.
Yeah.
I must be thinking of Warriors.
Okay. Like, if we need to go to the internet to resolve this issue, then so be it.
But yeah, a jazzy bluesy song that will always hit no matter where you play it.
Yeah.
Peter Gunn.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. I think.
We'll put a pin in this for today.
Yeah, I think that's it for tonight. We were originally gonna do 3 and 3, but I'm good with just.
We'll get to the other 3 next time.
I'm good with just 3. I'll start us off next time. Until next time,
Again, we don't know what this show is. We don't have a title.
we'll figure it out.
It's incubating.
Yeah, it's gestating. This is episode 0. Patient 0. Jesus. Bye.
0 by Smashing Pumpkins.
We're on a mission from God.